welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be focusing on map calculations, as you can see on the screen, and we are going to be focusing on the specific point of calculating the gradient, and we will be using an example of a topographical map which want us to calculate the gradient from trick station 172 to spot height 162. Now the formula for gradient, it says gradient is equals to difference in height divided by distance. The difference in height that they talk about is the difference in height between height of trick station 172 and 162, because clearly the gradient actually deals with the relationship between the height and the distance. Now the gradient tells us how steep the straight line is. Now if we are ought to differentiate between the heights of the two geographical objects, how do we measure them? We measure them by subtracting. We subtract the lowest height, which is 162, or spot height 162, from the highest height. It means that we are going to be subtracting spot height 162 from spot height 172. This means that if we are ought to find the difference in height, and we did not forget that gradient is equals to distance divided by height, we know that. Now we want to deal with the distance or the difference in height first. How do we find there is distance here and there is height. This is the formula of gradient. Gradient is equals to height, which is the height of the two geographical objects, divided by the distance between the two. Now the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to find out that how much difference of height does the two trick station 172 and spot height 162 have. Now what we are going to do is say we are going to subtract the highest height from the lowest height. Now how do we do that? We are going to say 172 in meters, because spot height are always measured in meters, or rather 173.6. We are going to subtract the 162 meters, and we are going to have the 11.6 meters. This means that from the gradient equation, or from the gradient point of view, now we are having the h, or the height, which we find by subtracting 162 from 172, which is the difference in height of the two geographical objects. Now we divide this. Before we divide, we also want to, we have determined that the height is equals to 11.63. I'm just writing so that you can be following, not just be looking at the screen that you don't make sense of what I'm trying to say. Now we have the height, which is 11.6 meters, which we got from subtracting 162 meters, which is the 162 meters of the spot height, and 173.6 meters, which is the 173.6 meters of the spot height, and we got 11.6 or 11.6 meters. Now we want the distance. How do we get the distance? We get the distance by measuring the height, or measuring the distance in centimeter using a mathematical ruler, as the example is clearly showing. Now we need to bear in mind that the first counting of centimeters of a mathematical ruler starts from the point of 0. Now we need to put the point 0 at our trig station 172 up to spot height 162, because those are the distances that we are dealing with currently. And the distance, after using a mathematical ruler, we find that the distance is actually 5.2 centimeter. 5.2 or 5.2 centimeter. The 5.2 centimeter that we find, we need it in meters, since gradient is always calculated in meters, because the gradient is the relationship between the height and distance. Fortunately, it can also be calculated in kilometers, but the end of the answer must always be in meters. Now, if we are out to convert the centimeters into meters, what we are going to do, because in this example that I was working here, the example that I pre-worked, I have converted the centimeter to kilometers first. Now let's just make a simplified way. A simplified way is that we are going to convert the 5.2 centimeter into meters. How do we do that? We know that the scale of a topographical map is 1:50,000. From 1:50,000, we know that 1 centimeter on the map represents 50,000 centimeter on the ground. This statement is the one which will guide us on how to convert the 5.2 centimeter to meters. Now, if 1 centimeter on the map represents 50,000 centimeter on the ground, this also means that from 1 meter we have ourselves 1,000 centimeter. This is a mathematical approach. We know that from every 1 meter that an individual walk or an individual travels, they travel 1,000 centimeter. Now, how do we convert the scale of centimeters into meters? We are going to say 50,000 of the scale divided by 1,000 of the 1,000 of the conversion of the scale of the units that we know that from each and every meter there are 1,000 centimeter, and the answer we are going to get 500 meters. Now we still ought to convert, to multiply 5.2 centimeter multiply by meters. Now 500 multiplied by, pardon me again, my keyboard is struggling with some functioning keys. So now 500 multiplied by the distance that we got on the actual topographical map, because now this distance can be converted to meters, since the scale is no longer in centimeter but it's in what? It's in meters. We are going to say 500 multiplied by 5.2 centimeter, which is going to give us an equal sign of 2,600 meters, which you can all see there. Now we are not yet finished, because the formula for gradient is height divided by distance. So if height divided by distance, we already know that we have our height. Our height is, what is our height? Our height is 11.6 meters, right? And what is our divided by distance? The distance that we got after conversion of centimeter to meters, we got 2,600 meters. Now, the common rule of calculating a gradient must always be in ratio form. This is how a gradient must always be. So therefore, how do we take the 11.6 meters divided by 2,600 meters to a ratio? Now, we divide both sides of the ratio by the height. We know that the height that we got is 11.6 meters. So we are going to divide 11.6 meters divided by, or let's just say divided by 11.6 meters divided by 11.6 meters. This is going to cancel each other and the answer is going to be 1. Isn't that correct? The answer is going to be 1. And the very same thing that we did with dividing height with height. Height must divide both sides. It means that we are also going to have 2,600 meters divided by 11.6 meters, which we are going to get 224.13, and therefore our gradient is 1:2. We take the 1 of the height, because at the end of the day gradient must always be in a ratio form. A ratio, we usually know, those who did mathematics, that ratio usually means that it's a division sign. Now our gradient is 1:224.13. It doesn't have meters. Don't forget, ratio does not have units. For us to convert this gradient to ratio is so that we will have a scale. This means that on this particular sentence, 1 centimeter represents 224 centimeter on the ground. This means that 1 centimeter on the map of our topographical map represent 224 centimeter on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our session. We do offer Telegram online classes in geography and earth science. You can contact us on 071-420-9221 to continue with lessons, and have a beautiful day.